on sports!
All right, guys, we are here for another wonderful episode. I'm joined by Gary, Mr. Woodkin, Chris, the Banana Bender Fletcher.
The generator never fails.
Dave Holden McGroin Finoli.
Someone has to.
This isn't going to be popular with certain.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Well, I could have been Q-Tip. I guess. I guess that's better. Oh man, Gary, we had a hell of a UCF or whatever the hell it is, UFC. But we had a hell of a fight because ESPN Plus kept telling me I'd be very impressed with what they had coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I mean, there was a lot of rare aspects. Both good guys. Daniel Cormier from down in Louisiana, decorated college wrestler, two-time All-American, very well spoken. Seems like a very good dude. Coaching a top wrestling program in Gilroy, California, where he's moved. 40 years old. Won the first fight. Considered one of the best fighters in that sport of all time. I've been following a lot more because I have some younger friends. Luckily, like, the soccer younger people you guys know maybe.
You're not talking to us, though.
No, I know. But my point is the guy, Cormier is a great guy. Everybody thought he would win easily in the second bout. I kind of felt that way too, because similar to boxing, usually the rematch comes easier.
Yeah.
But not this time. Stipe Miocic, a guy from Cleveland, another very interesting guy. Seems like a regular guy, full-time firefighter in Cleveland. Still doing this, almost 40 himself. Took a lot of punishment in the first 9 minutes. Landed a couple of body shots, turned to fight, stops Cormier unexpectedly, stunningly in the fourth round. So the ESPN's promoting because they spent so much money on this, and 48 cards are too many. A lot of these cards are not getting good ratings. It's too many for anything. Yeah. But for a heavyweight fight with that much back and forth, and a guy who was stopped in the first round the first time, really was annoyed about it, made it clear, waited a year for the rematch, comes in and stops probably one of the best big guys of all time late in the fight after getting dominated early. It had a lot of drama to it. I went with my younger buddy. We went out to see it, kind of a sports bar here. It got quite a bit of reaction, kind of reaction you'd get probably, back in the boxing day when you go to Van Brom's or whatever.
Okay.
So, it was a good event.
Did you do any puck bowling? Did you do puck bowling at the bar?
No, they didn't quite have that there, but we would have probably if they had it.
Okay.
But I think the environment, I think there was a lot of people, surprisingly, for August. August in the summer here is pretty much vacation time with the beach.
Summer in the city. Is that what you're saying?
No, you don't want to go in the city here in the summer, in my view.
How's the back of your neck, Gary? Getting dirty and gritty?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I do actually remember those lyrics. But, it's hard to get a crowd of people to come out and see anything here in August, unless you're, going to see the Phillies or whatever. But there was a pretty decent amount of people there at this place. This was just one of the places that had it on here, and it was a dramatic event. So it was a very good night. And yes, that would have been my moment of the week, Dave. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That was my moment of the week, and I think I don't know if there'll be a third one, because I think Cormier is an interesting guy. He's got a gig as he's one of the commentators on a lot of the UFC fights. He's extremely good. He's got a gig.
A picture for the Expos.
No, it's not Rael Cormier here.
Okay.
That would be an interesting fight versus Miocic, who's about 6'4", 250 pounds.
What kind of fight would that be?
It would not be a particularly competitive one, I don't think.
What would you call it? I got a guy here.
I would call it baloney. It's time to drink.
There we go.
There's a guy with wild turkey right now.
Time to drink. But no, the UFC is getting a little bit too much coverage now, and I think its ratings are probably dropping, and some of the cards haven't been so good. But this was a good event. And honestly, in the rematch, very rarely do you see that happen in the rematch. Most of the time, despite the public perception, the rematch comes easier than the first time. Not this time. So,
we have anything big coming up?
I think big coming up to me, one of the best exciting fighters is going to be on ESPN Plus this weekend. He's fighting a guy who is an Olympian by the name of Anthony Yarde from Britain. So it's interesting. You don't see guys take this kind of test in boxing so much anymore. I'm not sure why Kovalev is taking the fight, other than the fact he probably thinks he has a lot more experience. Sergey Kovalev. Yeah. It's over in Russia where he's from as well, so he probably figures that's another reason to do it. I kind of like Kovalev in the fight because I haven't seen a lot of Yarde, but he was a decorated amateur. So, I mean, Kovalev is one of the most exciting guys in boxing when he's right in his head. In other words, he's about 6'4". Yeah, he fights at light heavyweight. He's a big puncher, and he can box too. He's boxed some guys to win some major fights. So, yeah, for boxing fans, I would tune that in. It's on ESPN this Saturday. It's odd though, because it's in Chelyabinsk, Russia. It's on in the afternoon. Now, I'm sure on the Plus you can always pull it up, but it would be something worth looking at because Yarde's a southpaw too. He's pretty big as well. You don't see that happen that much in boxing, so it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting fight just from that standpoint.
Cool. Very good. Very good. Now, Mr. Fletch.
Well, guys, I'm going to wade into some somewhat dangerous territory here, and I'm hoping to check any white privilege that I have or any bias that I have at the door, but here goes. The deal announced by the NFL to be a partner with JayZ this week feels like a sham to me. Rock Nation and the NFL announced a multi-tiered partnership, I think it was Tuesday afternoon, and as part of the deal, JayZ's entertainment company will now become the NFL's live music strategist. How do you like that?
Yeah, but yeah,
I'm beyond this. Live music strategist.
Yes. So the partnership will see Rock Nation, that's his company, assist in the league's key events like the Super Bowl halftime show. They'll also be creating podcasts, visual albums, and they'll be organizing separate events and concerts. And, you know, all that's well and good. After all, JayZ knows something about entertainment. He's a billionaire and a music mogul, besides being a rapper.
Yep.
But, you know, according to the ESPN, the new deal has the potential to really boost the NFL's Inspire Change initiative that focuses on education, economic advancement, police and community relations, and criminal justice reform. Again, on paper, this all sounds really good, but to me, it's a little dicey, and I'll tell you why. Part of the deal will give JayZ a lot of power in directing the league towards social change, and to me, that feels a little bit forced. The part I found disturbing is JayZ's quote. You know, a reporter asked him, you know, if he would kneel or stand in this whole thing, and you know what he said was, "I think we've passed beyond kneeling, and I think it's time to go to actionable items." And that's the part that really bothers me. You know, it feels like JayZ just gave the NFL a free pass with that whole thing. They violated Colin Kaepernick's free speech and blackballed him pretty much right out of the league. Kaepernick sued and he won. And so much of the league's limited attention to social change really started with Kaepernick and a few others who challenged the league and their hypocrisy. So, you know, I don't know what the financial arrangements are on this. You know, they haven't been made public, but whatever it is, the NFL's new partnership with JayZ is a huge win for the league. I mean, you think about it. Some of the biggest stars in entertainment, you know, they would voice their support of Kaepernick, and they said that they were going to boycott the NFL. So, and until they resolved the whole Kaepernick thing and got him back in the league. So now that the NFL has JayZ's blessing, you know, it's pretty conceivable that some of those entertainers who really distance themselves from the league are going to come back. And JayZ's really given the NFL that free pass, you know, guilt-free access to black audiences, to culture, to entertainers, and social influencers. Besides Kaepernick, another one of the players who really stood up with this whole thing was Eric Reed, and he's been disappointed in this deal as well. You know, he called out the league, he called the partnership disingenuous, given the NFL's, you know, they've got a history, guys, of really doing a bad, clumsy job of addressing important issues off the field, and they tend never to be proactive. You know, here's the other part that bothers me is that JayZ really was supportive of Kaepernick. This is the same guy who showed up on Saturday Night Live wearing his jersey. And he had this song, I believe it was called Ape Shit, which, Dave, I'm sure you have that in your collection.
I'm considering it for our lead song going into the show.
Well, so JayZ in that song, this is what he says. Once I said no to the Super Bowl, you need me, I don't need you. Every night we in the end zone, tell the NFL we in stadiums too. Well, I guess the opportunity to profit was too much for JayZ to stick to his guns on that one. I'm all for the league stepping up efforts and athletes being agents of change, and I do hope I'm wrong and that this is the start of a new era of activism. But I'm not feeling it. And all right, maybe we need to look back at the whole civil rights era, and maybe things are going to be a little bit better. For years, Lyndon Johnson was on the wrong side of that whole thing. As a congressman, he voted against every civil rights bill that ever made it to the floor. And in fact, a lot of times he used pretty racist language to accompany that. Everything from 20 years, from 37 to 56, he just nixed everything. But we remember him, and history remembers him as the guy who signed the Civil Rights Act in 1964 when he was the president. We don't know why. Did he do it in memory of Kennedy? I'm not sure. Did he have a change of heart, or maybe he just saw the tea leaves and needed to do that? The same question could be asked about the NFL and this partnership. We can only hope for the best in this. No. But right now, I'm not feeling it.
No, and the thing that I question, I mean, you know my thoughts on activism in this century is basically, let's take care of a minor problem that will affect nobody, pat ourselves on the back, and go on. So I question whether this is anything more than, we'll do one or two things to say we're agents of change and things that aren't really going to affect anything, and we'll make a lot of money in the process. So my initial thought to it is it's going to be a lot of bullshit that's basically going to bring the younger generation to the NFL. You're right; it's a solid business move.
Oh, for both parties, it's a great business move.
Sure. And I don't, hypocritical, yes, but I don't necessarily criticize them for doing it. I mean, you look out for yourself. That's part of it. But when you're talking about social change, this is going to do nothing. This is going to be a weak ass. They'll fix a school. They'll do one thing, and I guarantee you that's where it's going to end, because it's all about let's get the warm and fuzzies for a half hour and not affecting real change. Lyndon Johnson, you mentioned that. I think it was more because he wasn't necessarily a Kennedy fan. I do think it was more he saw what was going on, and he saw that there was change that was needed. And quite frankly, if not for Vietnam, you'd have free healthcare right now, which I'm a big proponent of personally. You would have had a lot more initiatives. He lost the momentum because of Vietnam. To me, that was an era where people gave up a lot to make social change. That was activism. That's what activism should have been. It irritates me. I always use the Chief Wahoo thing as a prime example. These people are still poor. These people are still living at a poverty level well above most people in the United States. And we all patted ourselves, well, not me, but they patted themselves on the back, said, great job, there's no more Chief Wahoo. And it never solved the problem.
Right.
So that's my thought. It's not a fear, because I'm pretty confident that's what it's going to be. It's going to be some window dressing, and it's going to be a fairly useless endeavor.
Can I add two thoughts here?
You go, Gary.
Chris, your point, I think, is right on the money. This, whatever we want to call them, social activist, music promoter, is extremely successful. But his track record in boxing was extremely poor. He got into boxing. He only got 2 fighters of any note that he promoted, Andre Ward and Miguel Cotto, who the 3 of us could promote and make a fortune. His cards were horrible, particularly in New York. He used it as a forum to promote his musical acts on the rise. He had no concern about boxing's long-term future. Period. You can't dispute that. That's documented fact. You could look that up anywhere. Look up Boxing Monthly. Secondarily, I think all these sports have lost the focus a little bit. I hear about athletes being activists. Obviously, we got great ones. Jim Brown, Ali, whatever. But both sides here, I think, are right, including JayZ. This guy Reed wants to talk all the time about social activism, but he still signed an NFL contract. Now, I know that's the only way he can do things. That's a little different than the other guy who, JayZ wore the shirt of. Okay, this guy's still playing the NFL, still making a ton of money. So I got a big problem with his.
Kaepernick's blackballed. It's not that he doesn't want to play.
I get it, but Reed's still playing, and I think JayZ says, "Hey, dude, you signed a contract in a league that you're complaining about." He's right on. So I kind of actually see JayZ's side about that, but on the other hand, I don't understand this emphasis. Okay, they're going to make social change through the Super Bowl halftime show. Really? You got to be kidding.
It's more than that. They're going to create forums where players can go and they can discuss issues and all of that. I don't know.
I think this guy did do what some people have criticized him of, is he looked out for himself. And he certainly has a track record of doing that in boxing. So, Chris, I think you're right on the money. This won't be popular if some people tune us in. I really don't care. Produce the facts to tell me otherwise, because his boxing track record was extremely poor.
Well,
okay. And in fact, he's being sued by some fighters for putting people into fights in his cards without proper medical checking. That's a fact. You can look it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my thing is just.
I want to watch football. I don't really want to hear this all the time. I know I might be in a minority on this, but I'm tired of this being always around football, especially. If we want to talk about this, then I'll put on CNN. I'm tuning in to watch a football game. I'm not tuning in to hear this all the time. Right. I know that may not be the popular opinion, but that's how I feel about it.
And that's going to be their major emphasis. But my thing on this is, if you're going to do it, do it where it's going to make a difference.
Yep.
That's my point about Jim Brown. I've said this before, Dave. You and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
I mean, Brown certainly went out to Hollywood because he was tired of getting beat up in the NFL in those rough days, and he was doing something for his own best interest. But once he realized his career wasn't going to go anywhere, he went out and raised a bunch of money, and he actually did something about it. I mean, Ali sacrificed the peak of his career. I mean, I don't particularly care for him, and I never will. It's got nothing to do with the draft or anything else. I don't think he's quite the humanitarian that people have represented him to be. But the fact of the matter is, he still did sacrifice a substantial point of his career.
He did.
I'm not sure any of the parties these days are doing any of that, which speaks to your point, Dave.
Yeah, and all to his credit, he might not have done it at the beginning, but he lived the latter half of his life doing good for people around the globe. Ali's
case? I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. In boxing, he maybe wasn't as much the activist at the beginning, but he can take credit. He did a lot of good for a lot of people.
He did something about it, which speaks to your point. So I guess I'm agreeing with both of you. A lot of it's going to be feigned nonsense here. Look at me, look what I'm doing. From Roxy Sports or whatever the hell he calls it this time.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I don't know. I mean, just do it. And the track record hasn't been good. So clearly his interest in boxing was primarily to promote all of his music acts under his record label conglomerate. It had little to do with boxing. Documented fact. Graham Houston, who never criticizes anybody, wrote about this a number of times.
Yeah.
So those are documented facts. So
what I'd like to really hear, and a guy who I respect in this area, perhaps more than anybody else, is I really am waiting to hear what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has to say about all of this, because there's a guy who has walked the walk, has talked the talk and walked the walk his entire life.
Yeah.
And didn't use a combative nature to do it. Just Russell too. Russell got a little antsy at the end of his career, but Russell and Kareem, to me, were classy guys in dealing with this.
Well, I mean, they went out and they did things. I mean, Kareem and Russell, and to this day, they go out and they put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. And you got to respect that. I love as a philosopher, I love listening to Bill Russell. He's not.
Yep.
You know,
And Cream, I'm with Fletch. I mean, Cream always was a class guy, no matter what was going on. He had his own financial problems, everything else. He never wavered from some of the stuff he's always talked about. Same thing, Dave.
Right.
Yep.
No, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, Bill Russell to me is like one of the most interesting people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Will not sign autographs. Don't ask.
But he'll shake your hand and he'll talk with people.
Yep.
You know, I mean, he, you know, just an interesting guy. But
I don't remember those guys using the sport they played. As I know it's a different world. I know sports have reached a different level in society in terms of entertainment, everything else, and attention, press coverage, everything else. I don't remember those guys using that sport primarily as what they call the platform now.
Oh, Gary, don't forget when Ali was having his issues when he walked away from the sport, Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they all got together to listen to what he had to say to make sure he was doing this for the right reason and that whether he needed support.
Yeah.
Making my point exactly, Chris. That's my point. That's my point about it, in a way. They
didn't use the sport, you're correct, but I mean, bottom line, whatever they did, they went out and did something about it.
They had a bully pulpit and they used it.
That gave them recognition. That gave him the recognition. But today it just feels a lot more contrived.
And don't forget, back then, your life was at risk when you were taking that.
Well, that's a good point.
That's another factor.
You know,
that's a very good point.
Lives aren't at risk at this point.
Well, we can debate this one. This could be a show unto itself.
Three white guys saying that. I'm not so sure about that today.
But you know what I mean. I mean, back then it was a little more blunt. It was a little more blatant. But you're right. Yes, there are certainly people getting shot at today.
And that's why I had sort of mixed feelings about talking about this because, you know, who am I to say a lot of this shit? You know, I'm not I just.
But you understand there are problems, and you understand
there are problems. I'm not sure that the NFL did anything really to address that, and I really think JayZ let them off the hook.
You're right on that. This is a bullshit thing that they're both going to make a ton of money, and it's going to solve nothing. They're hiding under the umbrella of that. That's about it.
Unfortunately, they're all good at that today. We've talked about this, Dave, at least you and I have. Yeah. MLB, same thing. We're going to honor veterans. They give the veterans bug dust of that revenue they make from all the hat sales and all this other stuff. Same thing with pink bats, blue bats. They all become very good charlatans at this. And where Chris started, I think, is the same place I am. It kind of looks like the NFL knew it has an issue here. Yeah. A lot of outspoken guys. It's got plenty of PR problems. You know what I mean? I guess they think they got to get younger, too. Again, the hell with us. We're paying the freight. I bet you most of the luxury boxes in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia or any place else are us 50-year-olds plus.
But the one thing, Gary, they're not doing is they're not claiming we should have a mercy rule.
Yeah,
the entire Pirate season's should be a goddamn mercy rule.
We got a lot of mercy rules.
Well, would that make Pirate fans happy if over the course of 20 games a year you knew you could go home early and the game would be over?
If there were fireworks and you can get a mercy rule bobblehead, I'm in.
Well, we decided to make it a midget league game too. And midget ball, how many runners come home when the catcher can't catch the ball? Well, now you can reach base in Manfred's.
Well, to me, this is the whole. If I may go another way here,
you go, Dave. I'm with you.
This is a man who purely doesn't grasp what fans want. So you're going to be happy to say, okay, if you're behind by 15 runs in the sixth inning, we're going to call the game and you can
let you go home.
I'm going to buy a season ticket because of that.
Yeah, right. I'm going to charge you $90 for a box seat for that. Right.
Exactly. I can steal first base. You know, again, I'm going to put in the 12th inning. I'm going to put a man on second. Is this going to bring fans in? Do you think, for the life of you, this is going to bring fans in by doing this?
No.
How insane is this? It's making a mockery of the game. It's starting to chase me away. It's the Busher of the week. Busher of the week, amen.
Can I add to the Bushers of the week, though, for 1 second, Dave, and let you get back on your point? Did you watch the pregame for this ridiculous wearing jerseys with nicknames and all this nonsense on Saturday? Did you guys watch it?
I didn't watch the game.
Okay, I've had enough of Tim Kirkjian and this guy Teixeira, okay, kissing this clown's ass about the mercy rule, the computerized strike zone, or the whatever it is, the video strike zone. You know, Teixeira says, oh, I would love that. Why not just say, why don't you get your umpires calling a strike zone the way they're supposed to? Like, but no, why can't we have this guy?
Nobody has the balls because of the union. It's all a union problem. I'm going to see if the Pirates do have a hit. Okay, the Pirates have a hit in this game.
But good. I mean, it is just, it's at, this is the worst era we may go through as baseball.
Well, the mercy rule is the worst thing he's ever come up with. I'm a professional athlete. So I'm just, well, if I don't want to be out there and I'm down 12-0, okay, let me put the third baseman to give up 3 more runs so I can get out of here. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's a pussy rule. It's a stupid thing. This guy is making a joke of a sport we love, and it's so.
I agree.
Just so unbelievably irritating that it has taken Neil Huntington's claim that an 8-28 stretch or 4-24 stretch by the computer, when based on a 500 team, only happens 8 times in 10,000. Let's forgive him. Because the computer says, not your fault. This is just something that rarely happens. We have a 500 team here, which, of course, he told us we had a championship team not too long ago. But that was the most insane thing I've ever read.
What is so hard? What is so hard about him getting these people in a room and say, look, I don't care what your salaries are. I don't care what you think your risks are, Harvard graduates, Princeton graduates. People can't stand the game. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Fix it. Okay, I don't want to hear this 3 true outcomes. It's baloney. Go have a drink. I mean, come on. I mean, what is so hard about getting these people?
I couldn't hear what you said. What did you say it was? What did you say it was?
It's baloney. What is so hard about getting these people in a room? Seriously, guys. What is so hard about getting these people to say our game is horrible? Fix it.
Well, yeah. Because they think by doing all this stupid shit that it's going to magically bring – you're pissing us off.
Where's Landis? Is he dead? Is Landis dead? Is Landis dead, or is he still alive? Let's bring him back.
Well, you know, there are a whole bunch of problems there, too.
I get it, but at least he would get him in a room and say, this is horrible.
Yeah. But I just, for the life of me, I just don't understand. These are businessmen, okay?
Yeah.
Guys, they're making shitloads of money. They don't care.
And it goes back to what you said, Dave, about the no floor, or we all did. You're right. They're making a shitload of money. It doesn't really matter what they do.
They're making a shitload of money now. You get.
I agree.
I'm going to tell you that the money is not going to be there in the next 5 years once these contracts start going away.
I've had so many people come out to me and say, can you explain to me, half these ballparks are completely empty.
Because they've made them with the TV money. They make money before the first person.
Before the season starts, they're in the black.
Yep.
Yep. But if you're managing it the wrong way.
If they're not making money, I guarantee you they're not getting the ratings. The TV's not getting the ratings. TV's not getting the ratings. TV's not going to get the advertising. These people aren't just going to put money into this because it's baseball. I
agree. But that's going to require all of us to vote with our pocketbooks.
Yep.
Right.
That's right. And I've come to that conclusion.
Did I say pocketbook? Really? Holy shit.
But we're right. You're right, though. Well, I mean, it really – I mean, I've made up my mind that, you know what, it's not worth – I mean, I hate to say it. You took away all the people who love this by making a $92 box seat. You took those people away. But so I don't have any sympathy for you.
You know what? I think the money thing is because people can get in a ballpark some way at a good price. If you really want to go see, so that whole fans coming out and saying it's It's money. It's bullshit. It might be money at Yankee Stadium, but most of these places you can get a good price to get in the stadium.
Can't back here. I mean, it's a little different back here. I mean, you know, you may not pay 92 on StubHub, but you're probably paying 75.
What did the Phillies just do?
Well, what they just did basically was, to me, insulted everybody who gave them that money up front.
But they knew they were getting people in, so they made it cheap to get in.
Yeah. Also, bad long-term strategy. What did you do to yourself in the future?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Look at what a lot of teams are doing, guys, and the Pirates have dabbled in this too. They're doing pricing based upon who the team's playing.
Yeah, Yankees and Red Sox did it for years.
You know, that's the reality of the internet age now. You're going to be paying different things for different events based upon what their capacity is, and you know, it's smart.
I have no problem. Just fix the goddamn game by making them stay in the batter box
on the field. Yeah.
And just pitch quicker. If you want to do something off the wall, don't allow relievers to take 7 warm-ups after they just took 100 warm-ups in the bullpen.
Right.
And I don't want it. I have to get used to the catcher. That's bullshit. Okay, you pitch to this guy how many times? But
the clown here said, "Well, you know, one of these at bats can change the game." Okay, so you know this 3 batter rule. I don't think that's a good idea.
No, none of it's
BS. Okay, if you got all these numbers and you can plan all this other stuff, clown, then you can plan for whether or not you think this left-hander can get this guy out.
The game survived as is for a long time. It's getting long now because you made it long by allowing them to piss around and you taking extra commercials, which you could do in a split screen. But
yep.
I digress. We're running a little short here. Gary, quick round on predictions.
I mean, I don't have a big prediction this week, I don't think. I mean, I guess my prediction is a little bit of a sarcastic one. We might get one missive from ESPN that won't use an NBA player by first name, including guys that haven't played a minute yet. Okay? I mean, completely unprofessional to me. You know, I mean, why do we have to keep referring to people in the NBA by first name? We can't use the reporting last name? I mean, maybe we'll get one over the weekend. I guess I'm hopeful. That's my prediction.
All right. Mr. Fletch.
Well, guys, you know I'm big on accountability. You know, I hate it when people take credit for something that they've done when it really hasn't happened. You know, it's sort of like there's some guy in Washington who seems to be doing that a lot. Sorry, Mom, on the right. I'm gonna throw that one out there. But.
All right, that's good use of on the right.
So when it comes to accountability for the Pirates, we're not going to see any, but here's what we are going to see. Ray Searage is going to lose his job, and nothing else is going to happen. And, you know, I'm not angry about that, the part of Searage losing his job. I mean, he got a lot of praise for his reclamation projects, you know, with Volquez, with A.J. Burnett, you know, pitchers that were sort of on the downside that he brought up and rejuvenated their careers.
Yep.
He's not taking the responsibility for the staff that we have right now.
Yeah.
And for the Pirates, you need to have the public hanging, and he's going to be the victim.
He'll be it. And unfortunately,
that's it.
The people that should, and I'm agreeing with you. I mean, he needs to take responsibility, but the other people that need to go and need to take the responsibility are the people who are developing these players. To me, that's your big problem. But seriously,
there aren't too many managers that go 4-24 that are left either.
They need to take it too, but I'm saying that's the part that's going to get forgotten about, that gets forgotten year in and year out, that's destroying this franchise.
Well, your point about the developing pitchers, and both of you, Chris's point about Searage, and it proves that that's been right on the money. Once they got good arms, they draft well, they don't develop.
No, but it's not the CFL.
Oh, we call that a transition.
You like that?
I did.
5-1.
5-1.
Got back on the horse last week. And this week, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You got your wallets or your,
pocketbook.
Pocketbook.
All right. The Hamilton Tiger Cats can be called the Tie Cats too. There's a team with 2 names, okay? Cats and Tiger Cats. That's a powerful thing in sports. Okay?
Better than one.
Yeah.
It's better than one. It's better than one. Hamilton was owned by Harold Ballard at one point.
Yeah.
The great Toronto Maple Leaf.
Yeah.
So they got that going for them. They play in Tim Hortons Stadium. Okay?
So you know the coffee's good.
You know the coffee's good, but they're not there this week. You know where they are?
Where are they, Dave?
They're in Pussyland. They're in BC. Okay? All right?
And the international incidents begin.
You know what?
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank God there's a time difference.
You know what? Still, I expected to look on this and see British Columbia after my rant last week. Taking responsibility and pronouncing, or call yourself Vancouver, okay? You know, it's like stupidly where the Florida Marlins, I play in Miami. It's a big goddamn state. I don't play for the state, okay? You know,
It's true.
get over that, okay? You're not playing for British Columbia. You're playing for Vancouver. And, you know, I don't say I live in Pittsburgh, Pa, okay? All right? So, it's a late Saturday night game. When I come home from work, I'll be joyful because I can watch a late Saturday night game, and I can see the BC team get their ass kicked. Why? Because they refuse to call themselves British Columbia. Okay, we're bringing in a team who not only has good coffee, but they have two names. Okay, I abbreviate the Tie Cat, but I'm not ashamed of my original name, the Tiger Cats. Okay, I respect that. I know you guys respect that too.
Yeah, definitely.
So they'll win by 11 points at BC. And then they're going to go to that Chinese place that Guy Fieri goes to that just looks like it has the best dumplings I've ever seen. And they make their own noodles.
Oh, bonus.
So that's where the Tie Cats will celebrate afterwards. So this is a big-ass prediction, okay?
And then they will feast, is what you're saying.
They'll feast. They'll win by 11 games at BC. Then they will feast at this great Chinese restaurant, which I told my friend Ray. I said, Ray, go to this place when he went on a cruise up there. And he didn't go. And it pissed me off. He was what is that?
Cool city. Honestly, it is a very cool city.
I don't care about that. What is Ray?
What's the lunch meat? What's the lunch meat it is?
We're running out of time, Gare. Say it.
I guess it must be baloney.
All right. That drink was on me, Fran. All right, gentlemen.
All right.
We will visit you next week when I will be 6-1.
Amen.
You have a nice evening.
You're gonna have to get on TSN soon.
I will. God bless Harold Ballard. Have a good night.
Yeah.